What happened to make you say, "I'm never coming to this restaurant again"? We got home and realized neither of us had paid the bill. I ordered food in the drive-thru of a Wendy's once. It was a relatively large order as it came to $25 or so. When I got to the window to pay, I was greeted by a worker that ignored the debit card I had in my hand and handed me my drinks, which caused me to put my debit card down in order to grab them. Then another employee gets to the window and hands me both bags of food before closing the window. Then another employee comes to the window to hand me the dipping sauces for the chicken nuggets, and I go to hand him my debit card and he waved me away. I sat there bewildered for a second, wondering if I actually paid or not, when he waved at me to leave again because I was holding up the line. When I got home, I was curious and checked my bank account, and there was no charge from Wendy's. I avoided that place for a few weeks before I returned, and nobody mentioned a thing. Though I do blame the confusion on the fact that 3 different people served me from the drive-thru window and probably assumed I paid the first person that helped me. Did you pass the first window and drive up to the second? My wife is celiac, so really intense real gluten allergy. We get a gluten-free menu. It lists chicken and waffles. She orders it, takes a few bites, comments that it's the best gluten-free waffle that she's ever tasted, starts to feel sick, asks the waiter, "Oh, the waffle isn't gluten-free, just the chicken. I've had a few like that too. Oh, there's only a little gluten in it." I worked at this place for one day. It was a deli-type place. I had 5 years of kitchen experience and needed the work in a small town. Within 5 minutes, I was questioning their sanitary disposition, with unregulated temperatures, improper disposal methods, and general disregard for cleanliness. After a half hour, I told myself I needed the money, could look past it and do my best to make improvements over time. Then came the French fry that broke the camel's back. Their fryer, they dumped a basket of fries in it, but when it came out, it had a brown film or sludge over the delicious crispy fried potato product. I asked if they were going to serve that to the customer, and they said yes, it's the gravy. After further questioning, I found out they inherited the property and the oil hasn't been changed in 7 years. After 45 minutes of working there, I quit and called the health inspector. I never looked back. Haha, the gravy. Jesus Christ. Went to a local Mexican place and got a burrito. Took a bite and found a piece of glass. Did you ask for no glass? I mean, probably not. Can I get 2 soft tacos, no glass, a hard taco, no glass, and no tomatoes, and a burrito? Bites into the burrito. Crap, I forgot to say no glass on the last one. The little brownie mix package was baked into the goddamn brownie. Oh, that? It's just a little extra flavoring. Really helps improve the texture. All our customers love it. At least the ones who don't choke on it and die. During college, I caught the Chinese food restaurant's employees sneezing on the food. They saw me see it from far away and walked into the back, told everyone I knew. I had a similar experience at a Chinese restaurant near where I used to live. Went to pick up my order and a kid of one of the employees was walking around behind the counter coughing without covering his mouth. I should have told them to cancel my order and left, but was feeling non-confrontational. I used to go to a diner all the time that was owned by a guy who was a friend of my parents. From when I was around 10 or so, I would stop there on my way to school almost daily and get breakfast. Usually just cereal or some toast, sometimes eggs. As my parents both worked early and wouldn't be home. Never paid a dime either. On weekends, I would usually go there with my parents and get a full fry-up. Eggs, bacon, sausage, hash browns, ham, the works. The food was incredible. I had a huge crush on one of the waitresses. She would always be working the mornings and would talk to me and be super friendly and call me sweetie or honey, and I'd always look forward to seeing her. I'm sure she knew it too. She was gorgeous. Or at least she was to 10-year-old me. Anyway, we moved, and one of my last thoughts as we were leaving that town were, I'm never going to that restaurant again. Hey, it's me, the waitress. 3 eggs sunny side up, side of bacon, whole wheat toast, extra toasty, extra butter, thanks. We went to the Old Country Buffet a long time ago, and my dad got a hot dog that turned out to be moldy. We haven't gone back. The restaurant name checks out. Mexican restaurant I had never been to before. My 2 friends go in and wait for a while by the door while being stared at by staff. Eventually we sat. A boy no older than 10 years old greeted us after a minute, and I asked for water. He said they didn't have water. They didn't have water. They didn't have water. They didn't have water. Clearly the problem was you should have asked for agua. It's a Mexican restaurant after all. You joke, but I went to a local Chinese restaurant, your typical family-owned place, and had lunch a few years back. The waiter clearly didn't have a firm grasp of English, and at the end of the meal, I asked for the check. He took my glass, went to the soda fountain in the back, and stared at it for a good minute. Apparently he thought check was a type of soda. The owner finally came out from the kitchen, asked him what he was doing in Mandarin, and started laughing. Found a bunch of eaten chicken wing bones in my appetizer basket. They just dropped a new piece of paper over them and filled it up with onion rings. Pointed it out to the manager, declined to get my app for free, and walked out. I would have contacted the health department after crap like that. It's a massive health hazard. And I can't help but wonder if they're too lazy to wad up the last app's liner and trash it, what else are they cutting corners on? I'm sure that some stoned line cook just didn't do his job, but that's why I walked out. If they mess up cleaning a basket, I've got no faith in their salad or entree liners either. Local breakfast place in my hometown that I went to as a kid ordered a Belgian waffle, and it comes out dark brown and crunchy. I complained that it was burned, and they sent it back to make a new one. About 5 minutes later, they returned with a new waffle, except it wasn't new. It had bite marks, right where I had bitten it. And hey, the section I bit out had butter on it. They walked it back in and turned the waffle over, thinking no one would notice. When I was 3, my parents and I were at a Pizza Hut, and when the waiter brought us our drinks, he spilled them all over me. All 3 of us got popped, so I was sticky. This in itself wasn't too bad, but when my parents got the check, they realized that they had charged for 2 sets of drinks, including the ones that were spilled on me. When my dad asked the waiter about this, he said it was only fair. This is the only time I've ever seen my dad not tip. I can imagine the waiter's reasoning behind that. Like, well, you technically still got them, you just didn't drink them. Yeah, honestly, it's your fault for not specifying in what manner you'd like your drink. It was our favorite bar. We used to live down the road from it. We had our first date there and knew every employee, even the cooks in the back. We moved about 25 minutes away. We got engaged and needed to save money. We went for the first time in months. The menu changed drastically. The management changed, and almost none of the servers recognized us, as most staff had left. We tried to give it a go, but the food was awful. They'd even changed cooks. We realized what we had was gone. You killed the bar! There was a small fly, a fruit fly, I think, in my fried egg. It was all fried and crispy. I wasn't even that bothered. I'm not a confrontational person. I didn't even want a whole new meal, I just wanted a new egg. The waitress came back from the kitchen and said that the chef was insisting it was a bit of herb that he uses in his cooking. You could see the legs and wings. They were so insistent that I could see it wasn't worth arguing. They were a new business as well, so you would have thought that they would want to establish a customer base. You must have read the menu wrong. Must have said, fried egg. Ah, the old English delicacy. They lost a lawsuit over stealing the server's tips. Best pancakes and stuffed French toast, breakfast skillets of my life. But I couldn't do it after that. Sophias, nailed it. A family-owned restaurant didn't honor a 3-week in advance reservation for Valentine's Day, but instead overbooked and didn't seat us until an hour later, then proceeded to give us silverware and asked us for drinks 20 minutes after that. We just said not to bother and left. My Valentine's nightmare. My fiancé and I went to a popular locally owned seafood restaurant. Because we knew it would get packed, we arrived pretty early. I ordered a rum and coke and my partner ordered a Sprite because he was driving. The waitress brought me a rum and coke, but brought partner a 7 and 7. We explained the mistake to the waitress and told her not to worry about it. I would drink the 7 and 7 and to please bring a Sprite. When she brought our meals, she brought me the wrong meal. She apologized and I assumed went to reorder my meal. I ordered crab legs. 20 minutes go by and my partner is finished eating and we are just waiting. The waitress never returned to our table. She didn't come to refill his Sprite or tell me my food was on its way. Nothing. I finally said this is crazy and flagged her down and asked her to please cancel my order and get us our check. I explained that we would pay for all of the drinks and the food that my partner ate, but I wasn't paying for the food that I ordered and never received. About 5 minutes later, she comes back to our table crying her eyes out. I mean really sobbing. Her manager told her that she had to pay for our meal. My partner told her, no, we will pay for what we ate and drank. Please go get your manager. The manager comes to our table with my food. At this point, I'm not eating. I just want to get out of there. I decline the food and ask again for our bill. The manager storms off with the plate of food. He comes back, we are on the second floor of the restaurant and just stands on the other side of the room. The waitress is waiting on customers but still sniffling. My partner walks up to the manager and asks again for our bill, tells him that we don't want the waitress to pay for our food and drinks, and that we don't have any problem paying our bills. The manager then starts loudly yelling at him, mind you, this is in an area with many other diners. Told him that we planned this and did this on purpose to get a free meal out of them. My partner is a big dude and doesn't take crap off of anyone, but I was proud of him. He just turned around and we left. I'm sure that poor waitress ended up paying for our food and drinks, but they wouldn't give us the bill. I ended up eating peanut butter and jelly for dinner that night. Isn't it illegal to hold waitresses liable for the bill? I mean, first they don't even pay these people minimum wage, and they expect them to foot a bill? Frick them. We were completely ignored. It was a small, family-owned Mexican restaurant that was extremely popular. We had been there many times. We were the only people sitting in one of the waitress's sections. We watched her as she stood there, talking to the busboys and cooks in plain view of our table. We had to walk up to her to ask her to take our order and to go up again to ask for another margarita. We then had to go up and ask for the check. It was the only time I didn't leave a tip. I have no idea what we did to her. The other waitress in a different section was actually doing her job, and she had a full section. The only thing I can think of is that it was the end of her shift and she didn't care. Oh, no, don't just leave no tip. Then they just think that you don't believe in tipping. You have to leave the smallest possible form of currency your country has to get the message through. I feel morally obliged to give waiters and waitresses tips, but I need to get across the fact that you don't deserve anything, tip. I used to go to a local Mexican restaurant so much that I knew the workers by name, and they knew me by name. I went with my friend and she was being super flirty and made a deal with the waiter that she would go on a date for a free drink. When we left, she said she wasn't going on that date. I can never return to that restaurant. There's only one thing you can do. Make up for the dishonor by going on a date with the waiter yourself. Yeah, but you gotta dress up like your female friend, so it's like those old 80s sitcoms where they do the switch-em-ups and miraculously the dude doesn't notice that it's just a wig. There is a little cafe in my town that I would frequent about twice a month. I went there a couple of months ago and asked to place a to-go order. The waitress told me to wait to see if they could still take orders. This was at like 6:30 p.m., so no reason why they wouldn't be taking orders. She's gone for like 15 minutes, comes back and says that they aren't taking any more orders for the night. As she's saying this, a couple comes in and sits down. She proceeds to give them a menu and asks to take their order. I just said, "You have to be freaking kidding me. I'm never coming back here again," and stormed out. I'd be talking to a manager or the owner if that happened. That's probably the waitress pulling that crap. Time for her to move on. That's a really nice way to say, time to get her ass fired. The nozzle fell off the soda fountain and bug parts fell out into my cup. Roaches and other bugs in the soda fountain are a common problem if you don't clean it properly. I told a worker and they just screwed the nozzle back on when they thought I wasn't looking. Who knows what else they weren't cleaning? When I was younger, I worked at a small cafe place. We religiously cleaned the soda dispenser caps nightly. Wash, rinse, sanitize, and wipe down the machine itself as well. I never understood why we did this, and since we did it every night, it was always clean. So I never knew that they could get as dirty as they do. Yep, I was the manager of a local pizza place, and the soda machine is one of those things that you have to take good care of because they will attract bugs. And the ice machine is a recipe for disaster. Every night the caps had to be taken off and put into a bucket of sanitizer overnight, and then thoroughly wiped down. We emptied the ice machine completely twice a week, and turned it off to be turned on in the morning. You can't be lazy with soda machines, and I can tell you it's one of the best ways to tell if a place is cleanly. I was at a macaroni grill, felt something on my leg, and then swatted at my jeans. Went to the bathroom and found nothing, but returned and saw that there was a crushed roach under the table. Basically, I had crushed it against my jeans, and it had fallen out of my jeans afterwards. Told the waitress who just offered a free dessert. Really wasn't angry. We just joked about it, but afterwards I avoided that location. I was at a Taco Bell in a food court. I very rarely eat there, but was in the mood for some reason. After I place my order and I'm pulling out my card to pay, I notice a roach crawling up the wall next to the cashier. I was just so shocked that all I could do was say, "Never mind," and walked away. Haven't been back there since and never will. I kept meaning to report them but kept forgetting. Still feel bad about not reporting them. I have worked in many restaurants. Every single one has had 1 or 2 cockroaches at some point in time. Usually happens after heavy rain, sometimes for no reason at all. Do not assume a restaurant isn't a safe place to eat or is dirty because a bug shows up, but do tell the staff. Most restaurants are sprayed and checked for pests monthly. It annoys me how many people are overreacting in this thread. I went to Ruby Tuesdays once and there was a partially frozen entire stick of butter on my steak. You passed up some butter steak? I prefer milk steak. I booked a table for 7 people at an Indian restaurant. I had this confirmed by email and the manager even called me a few hours before to remind me and let me know that they were looking forward to hosting us. I arrive at the restaurant and the manager is nowhere to be seen. The staff tell me there is no booking and even suggest I book over the road. I show them my phone log and they say it's definitely not their phone number. They begin trying to usher us towards the exit. I start thinking I messed up big time and freak out I've screwed up organizing a get-together for my best friend who is moving away. I decide to call the number that had phoned me earlier. Then the restaurant telephone right next to us starts to ring. The guy who said I had no booking picks up. He notices it's me, but decides to pretend he thinks I'm another customer calling in. It feels like a scene from Fawlty Towers. I am on the phone with him and standing right next to him. Hello, I'm standing beside you, I have a booking. I've got an email confirmation and you also called me today. You just pretended this wasn't your number and now you've answered it right in front of me. I'm pretty sure I'm not booked over the road, but I wish I was. Don't leave us hanging. What happened next? Went to a new restaurant with my family, right near the house, so hopefully it can be a new commonplace. Plus I'd heard the wings were fantastic. So we go in. Takes a while for us to have someone come to take our drink orders, so oh well. My dad ordered a sandwich and a cup of soup. Now, if you order soup, do you not expect it to come before the entree? Well, we get our entrees. Side note, the wings weren't great, but my dad didn't get his soup, so he tells the waitress and she says she'll go get it, but he says never mind because he has his entree. So we eat. The food was okay, nothing to rave about. We get the check and notice that the soup is on it. We ask the waitress why it's on there and she says it's because we ordered it. Well, we didn't eat it, so no reason we should pay for it. Asked to speak to the manager. Now, a $3 cup of soup isn't a big deal, but it's the principle of it. The manager speaks to us. We say we shouldn't need to pay for it because we didn't eat it. He disagrees. We ordered it and therefore we should pay for it. Long story short, we end up telling him to go screw himself and that he doesn't want our type eating there anyways. Still not sure in what way he meant that. Jewish? New Yorkers? A month or 2 later, they're shut down. Was eating at a Chinese restaurant where you order rice by the bowl. From the angle I was sitting, I saw the waiters taking half uneaten bowls of rice and dumping them back into the rice cooker. My uncle has a story like this. High school job working as a busboy in a local Chinese restaurant. They stiff him on the tips one week, and he says if he doesn't get his fair share, he'll tell everyone about the rice. What with the rice, you might ask? Well, he was instructed when bussing to take rice on the table, wipe it into the bowl of rice, and bring it back to the kitchen for reuse. Table rice being reused. The infamous line is the manager saying to him, "You shut up! You shut up now!" Giving him his tip money and him never going back. And then he told everyone anyway, right? Ate at Red Robin and they had those tablets on the table that does everything your server does except drop food off. I think we saw our server twice. At the end of the meal, we go to pay with a card using the tablet, and it automatically hikes the tip to 18% or 20%. You can change it, and I did. But why am I going to tip 18% when I didn't really get service? Another Red Robin, we sat, 5 minutes go by, 10, 15 minutes. No one has come to the table, and this Red Robin doesn't have a tablet. So after 20 minutes, we got up and left. Don't go to Red Robins anymore. Especially dirty if they don't pay their waitstaff enough to compensate for the lack of tips because of those new machines. Maybe it's that location. Red Robin by me has great service. My favorite chain place for sure. Went to Olive Garden. I got pasta Alfredo, and at the bottom of my dish there was plastic. Not like a tiny piece, but the entire wrapper for Parmesan cheese. I gagged. When I was little, we got a gallon of store-bought brand ice cream. There was a full plastic shopping bag mixed in. I'm trying to wrap my head around how this happened. They bring out food quickly after I order. It's lukewarm. I send it back. I hear the microwave ding. They bring it out, still cold in the center. They put their finger in the center to verify. They bring it back. Ding. May I have a to-go box? Disgusting. Can we just clarify that this is okay to do at home for yourself with clean hands? One of my relatives has a prosthetic leg, and it's uncomfortable for him to stand for a long time, so he asked for a chair to sit in while waiting for a table. 10 minutes later, a waitress came over and said she needed the chair back. He explained his situation, but she snapped. "Well, I'm sorry, I need it. You'll have to get up." He shouted, "Screw this place," and stormed out. Good for him. I have 2 restaurants I'm never going back to. The first is Buffalo Wild Wings. They messed up our order, overcharged us, and wouldn't listen to us when we called out their mistake. To top it all off, half of the wings were undercooked. We didn't notice at first because of the dim lights, but I took a bite and said, "Does this feel cold?" And someone else said, "Yeah, mine too." So they used their phone flashlight and it was bright pink. I dropped my phone at one point and the floor was disgusting. Also, I think our waiter was on coke or something because he was super antsy and made some big mistakes. The second is a small restaurant in the Black Hills of South Dakota. We saw they had a special for an all-you-can-eat catfish, so we go. The salad bar was really good, and it was clear this was a mom-and-pop type of operation. It took forever for the food to come out, and the waitress apologized, saying their cook went home sick. I never did get more than 1 plate of catfish. Go back a year later hoping maybe things were better because the food was amazing, but nope, they were still understaffed and really slow. The lady running the place clearly had no idea how to run a restaurant. I feel bad, but I don't have 2 hours to burn to wait for my food. Buffalo Wild Wings is way too overstimulating for me. I can't ever go back there because I'm afraid I'd get a migraine from the loud music, dim lights, and gratuitous amounts of TVs. Also, my dad found the little plastic tab from a bag of hamburger buns in his food when my family went for the first and last time. Nope. Steak and Shake south of Houston. Went in and the staff didn't really seem to give a crap, but whatever. Ordered a Royale and it was delicious, until I noticed the mold on the bottom of the bun. Not just a little either. I'm talking multicolored, nasty-ass moldy bun on a burger I had eaten like a third of. I showed it to the waiter who seemed stoned and he just said, "Oh, I'm sorry man. Do you want something else?" I asked for the manager who didn't charge us and gave us a coupon for a free meal later that we never used. I vomited in the parking lot before we left. Went to a sushi restaurant that a friend recommended. The place was empty and we were the only customers. We waited like 20 minutes just for the waiter to tell us they didn't have the dish that one of my friends ordered. They ran out of meat, and the rice I ordered was cold. That's probably why you were the only customers. Thanks for watching until the end. Please feel free to share your experiences down in the comments section below. Then make sure to like this video, subscribe, and then stop by our channel for another amazing video.